Hi everyone, it's Hans here, the founder of Cappuccino, and welcome to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, a podcast created to allow a space for open, honest and vulnerable conversations with real people, all over a beautiful cup of coffee. We're here in my home, so I'll be providing the flat whites, and my guests, they'll be providing the insights. So grab a coffee for yourselves, take a moment, and I hope you enjoy this latest conversation. Thank you, take care, and enjoy. Okay. Franchesca, hi, thank you so much for taking the time to join me here for a conversation. And we haven't actually spoken before, which I think is really cool that this podcast is kind of connecting us, and that's something I hope to see more. But for those, or for myself, and for those who don't really know who you are, is it okay to give a brief introduction and kind of why you kind of saw this podcast and wanted to maybe come on and have a conversation?
Thank you, Hans, for having me and for inviting me at first. I was really happy when I seen your invitation because we followed each other on Instagram a bit, seen each other's stories, but never really talked much about, even though we have the same subject we try to share with the world. Well, my name is Franchesca. I'm from Croatia, and I love coffee.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
That's what
I love coffee, and I love to talk to people over coffee, or as we were talking before, it doesn't have to be coffee. It's just invitation to have a conversation with someone. Therefore, that's why I'm here now. Thank you.
No, amazing. Yeah, and I think I saw your Instagram page and where you talk about Coffeealoud, which is something that we'll touch on. And I love that you're saying how you kind of got your passions of coffee, making beautiful coffee, which I'm the same. That's something that I've really started to enjoy the last few years, probably since lockdown as well, because I've had more time at home. So I've kind of tried to become a bit of a home barista and hone those skills a little bit. But as much as that, you also mentioned about conversation, and I noticed that as part of Coffeealoud, you kind of say that you are kind of like a relational coach, if that's right, like a relationship coach. And is coaching something you've always been involved in, or is that something that, as you say, is like a new adventure for you?
Coaching is a very big part of my life because firstly, I've been a sports coach since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And from sport, because I was in martial arts, it was a very big thing because I was the only girl in the gym. And coach seen this potential in me, and he gave me opportunity to coach other people, even though I was the only girl. So I was coaching 20 men. And that gave me a confidence and a purpose in life. Because from environment that I'm coming from, I didn't have this this happy family childhood. I didn't have this picture of like parents or anyone in family that really motivated me to be something or aim for something specific. So this sport gave me that purpose. And because I learned a lot about life being in this boxing and martial arts gyms in general, I learned that I really like to help people and teach people how to do things properly and how to be better in what they're doing. And that's how I started coaching.
Yeah.
Then through life, I learned about different things. I've done my master's in psychology. I have holistic approach. Of course, I've done life coaching, but through sports coaching, you do all kinds of coaching. Because when you're a sports coach, you would probably know, being in football as well,
Yeah.
that when you have someone, even if it's not a professional athlete, but someone who just enjoys doing this training, practicing this sport, they always have some, let's say, problems in their lives or something they need help with. And then you become literally their parents.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
it's
you're this
definitely is.
one person who tries to help them in any way in their life they need.
No,
That's
certainly. We have well, I work in my day job is in football. And I grew up playing football, and I know a lot of people in it, and yeah, managers, coaches at any age group, but particularly youth football, which we work in a lot. There's so much more than just the coach, the manager. You are a parent, you're a counselor, you can be anything. You have to break up conflict. Maybe you have to you're there as someone to come to. And I guess particularly you mentioned maybe that home environment, or maybe not having an environment like that. And I can also relate a little bit. Whereas I was quite young, I was 10 when my parents split. So as much as they still speak and I still saw both parents, I didn't have maybe, when people think of home and, the family times, or Christmas when everyone's together, and at times like that. So I think for me, sport again gave me the chance to be a part of something. And whether that's as part of a team or whether that's coaching or teaching, I think a lot of people can see sport as that kind of power for good. And do you feel that maybe where the coaching for yourself, maybe it allowed kind of you to experience those kind of connections that maybe you didn't have?
Definitely, because being part of, I think everyone in life aims to be part of something, just to have this feeling of belonging. And that's why we enter relationships. That's why we go over things that we don't feel comfortable or happy with, because we don't want to lose this connection. And we actually fear a lot this breaking these connections with people, whether that's good relation or not. And a lot of people find it in sport or whatever it is. Some find it in music, or like I recently found it in meditation, and just learning through life about yourself and what feels good for you and what is right for you.
Yeah, that's so true. And almost the relationship, as you say, or people say, the most important relationship often is the one we have with ourselves. And that's something, again, that it took me having a burnout at the age of 22. I had kind of gone through life up to that age probably, and I hadn't really shared things. Maybe I think part of that came from not having a safe, shall we say, or a loving home in the same way that other people maybe do. And I just never learned to value my own feelings or value my own time necessarily. And it was only when I burnt out and actually ended up having kind of suicidal ideation in a way, because I just felt there was no way out. I had no one, and I didn't know what to do or who to talk to, and even accepting it myself. And so for me, since 22, I almost feel it's been like some people are more spiritual than others, but almost, like awakening, and like almost actually realizing, what are my passions? What do I want to do? And who am I? And so I think, that relationship with myself is something that I'm still working on. I still try to spend more time, as you say, maybe it's meditation or really just doing things for me. So in terms of that, so you mentioned kind of started in sports coaching. Was that in England or was that in Croatia? If you don't mind me asking, where you said you kind of were in the boxing gym and were in
Yeah, so it was in Croatia when I started, well, where I'm originally from. So I thought back then that is what I want to do in life. So I studied sport, I went for it, I started going to other countries and trying just to find my place. And I do really enjoy coaching other people. but now I'm a bit older, and I've done many different things, and I've decided I don't want to be a sports coach anymore, because there are many sports coaches and you will always find a good one. But there are no people, probably like us, that found this courage and try to be open and say about things that actually happen in our lives and be there for those people. And this is not necessarily coaching in a way, it's just be friend to some. I say friend, but just be there for someone to listen to them, because if I look here in Croatia, if you go, we live in society that if you go to the therapist or psychiatrist or psychologist or whatever kind of that has to do with psychology, you feel ashamed, because you think people will think that you are crazy, that you're insane, that something is wrong with you. And then people either don't go to therapist and rather try to fight with all of this inside themselves. And then in a way they become ill, they get cancer, they get any other disease that they in the end probably die of. But this is all because of this stress that we don't let out of our system, because we are so scared of what other people are going to think about. And we are so scared of losing attachment from people that we love and we have in our lives, because we think they will think something that will break this connection.
Yeah, so true. And but when you're saying that, I can really relate to my younger self, because for me, I know you mentioned that kind of boxing and sport was maybe a distraction or something where you felt your first belonging. For me, when at home, obviously parents split, and I was just going into the secondary school age, so I was just 10, 11. And for me, something I needed control. I needed something I could control. And for me, that was my studies, school, academia. So I threw myself into that and was able to achieve. And but I put all my self-worth, I think, in the fact I'm the smart guy. I'm the person who is doing well at school. So then when I went to university, I was like, I want to do a PhD. I want to become a doctor. Because not many people become a doctor. And that to me was making something of myself. But it was only then when I got and started the PhD and was so used to being, a high achiever. And suddenly you're at a level where everyone is at the top of their field, but also you're doing research. It's not always going to work. And I couldn't, when it became tough, that was when I realized, maybe, do I love this, or do I love the idea of people thinking that I am smart? And so I had basically like an identity crisis, I think. And I remember the hardest thing was maybe not quitting the PhD or leaving it. It was accepting to myself and knowing I'm going to have to tell friends and family that I'm not this person that I've told everyone I am. That was really, I had like no sense of self. Myself was what I was doing, not who I was. So yeah, I can really relate to those kind of feelings that you're saying of just people worrying. And I thought that people would no longer respect me, or I thought that people would no longer love me or want to be my friend, because I had been, in my eyes, I've been telling them a lie all that time, because I've been lying that I loved that science.
Yes, I can relate to that, because at my younger age, I was also looking for this valuation side of myself and people to evaluate me and to show them that I'm worthy, and that I'm good enough. And the trouble is that people don't show you any respect or love or any kind of positive side of yourself. As I lived in very toxic and abusive environment, and I was facing as a child other people's addiction and abuse of any kind, and I experienced it myself on my own skin. But I went through all of it, and I kept chasing for this valuation. I kept doing anything that I can, starting with not only sport. I've done different sports. I did volleyball. I did dance. I danced in theater as a child, and I practiced fencing as well. And, I did everything really that I can, like, make, like, become bigger in eyes of these people. And I also went to do different courses and, like schools and everything really. And all of that only made me overwhelmed and ill and didn't help. And it didn't give me any valuation I was doing this for. And it is when you realize that whatever you do in life, these people will never tell you, well done. Never will say, I'm proud of you. You've done really well. Like they will never see good thing and why you're doing that. It will always be like, oh, there she is on another sport, or there she is like another school or whatever, but it's mostly like they're jealous, and then they will be negative because you're doing all of this, but you're doing all of this only to show them that you are good enough.
Yeah.
And therefore you're not doing good thing to yourself or to anyone around you, because they don't see it and they don't want to. So in the end, you come to the point of your life when you realize, I had enough.
Yeah. Almost like
I had enough
for me now.
Yeah, exactly. And I need to get rid of this fear of losing attachment. I need to cut some people out. I need to start doing what makes me feel good.
Yeah. Amazing. No, thank you for sharing that. And I think that brings us on to a nice point. So you kind of said there, start doing things that make you feel good. So if you don't mind me asking, what are those things, or what have you discovered that your new kind of as you're learning maybe more and more about yourself? I know coffee obviously is something that is a passion that we share, but I know coffee as well can be, as much as it's funny, I think people think I drink a lot more coffee than I do because I post it on social media and people are like, oh, you must drink so much coffee, but I'm trying not to drink too much because, again, the caffeine and my sleep. And so I aim to, but yeah, for yourself, what makes you feel good, I guess, is the question.
So when it comes to coffee, I'm like you. People think that I'm coffee addicted, I'm coffee freak, and different stuff.
Yeah.
The thing with coffee is that when I was growing up, I used to have this long conversation with my aunt. She was one person that I could talk to and I could tell most of things to. And I trusted her when I was younger, and I felt good spending time with her when we were sitting like until 3 or 4 a.m. drinking coffee, talking.
Yeah.
And this coffee always just reminds me to these conversations and to these people that I had coffee with and I had good conversation with.
Yeah.
But the truth is that this coffee that I was having was very unhealthy for me. Because here we drink this called Turkish coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's black coffee. Usually they make it very strong. It's nothing to do with specialty coffee. It's very far away from that. And what I was taught to do is to put white sugar in coffee because that's how coffee tastes good.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was putting a lot of white sugar into my coffee. I actually used to dip this sugar into coffee and then eat from the spoon. So I was eating sugar like it was something, like normal. But,
yeah.
And now when I think about all of that, I realize that I was actually addicted to sugar and to this taste of sugar with coffee. Not coffee with sugar, but sugar with coffee.
Okay, yeah. So when people say, yeah, would you like sugar with your coffee? It was the other way around. Do you want some coffee?
Yeah. As I was growing up and I learned more about coffee, and as a student, I worked in coffee shops as well, and I learned how to make espresso and everything, and you need to learn how to make a good milk foam and things like that. And I actually started liking the taste of coffee, and with years, I started losing sugar and actually enjoying coffee. So I went from white to brown sugar to coconut sugar to no sugar at all.
Mm.
So when I discovered specialty coffee, I was very happy, and that is time when I actually started enjoying coffee as a drink, let's say food.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, but I don't necessarily need to have coffee every day, and people think also because I talk about coffee all the time, and I'm like very specific the way you need to make my coffee. If I'm in a coffee shop or somewhere, I left so many coffees, and people look at me like, "You're gonna leave that?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm not going to put that in my stomach." It's very burnt coffee, it's very burnt milk, it's so unhealthy, and it always reminds me to this stage of my life when I had very unhealthy habit of having sugar with coffee. And I just started to appreciate more what coffee is about, and how it actually can be healthy for you. If you have a good fresh cup of coffee a day, it's actually good for you.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned there as well the bit specific about coffee and how it can bring back memories, like you say, memories of with your auntie, but also the process of brewing coffee or the process of making coffee. For me as well, I really like that's part of the enjoyment of coffee. It's the taking time. It's time where I'm not worried about anything else. It allows me to slow down. And then I can, just enjoy that coffee. But I think for myself as well, coffee reminds me of feelings and people. And again, where you talk about Coffeealoud, which we will come on to, and that page and the kind of project that you're setting up. And I think that's similar for me. When I think of coffee, I got into it, and cappuccino started after I was signed off work for my mental health. And I initially just wanted to connect, like I needed to be something to get me out of the house or something to just get me up and make sure I was trying to be active. And I initially was just reviewing cafes in Oxford, and I noticed that Oxford is somewhere that you're familiar with as well, if I'm right. I think I've seen a few of your posts at Society Cafe. We'll give them a shout out there.
Yes, I really like Oxford because I used to live in Tame for some time.
Okay, yeah.
Because my partner is from UK and he runs business in Tame, so I used to be there as well, working on some projects, and obviously trying coffee around.
Yeah.
So it's just a good way. I think with specialty coffee, is different than with normal commercial coffee, because when you come to these specialty coffee places, it's like a community, and you can really approach anyone and talk to anyone, and they will always accept conversation or whatever you have to say, or ask, comment on it, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you will stay in touch with these people, but you had nice conversation that you didn't plan, and it just, it made your day. While in normal, like I say normal, like this usual coffee places.
I know the ones you're thinking.
Example, I don't really want to mention, but if you say Starbucks because coffee, I won't comment on their coffee, but I'll just say if you approach someone on places like that, you won't find the same kind of conversation, the same kind of people.
It's almost dismissive. It's almost dismissive. It's almost, what people are just take your coffee and go. Like, we're all busy. We're all rather than that. That community and conversation, and that's how in Oxford. That's how cappuccino was born. Especially some of the baristas and some of the cafes. When I was signed off, I was spending a bit more time there, taking my book, trying to learn from them about coffee. It was a passion that maybe I'd never tapped into when I was so busy trying to be this academic, trying to be this person who was going to be successful, or what I thought successful was, I didn't allow myself time to actually explore my passions. And so it was so nice to just go into a coffee shop in the week, and often when people were working, so it was a bit quieter, and just talk to them about what they're doing, the process, how they got into coffee. And like you say, just conversations with people. Some of them I'm still connected with, some I'm not, but it doesn't matter, because in that time I needed connection, and it allowed it to for me, which was really nice.
Definitely.
Which
so sorry to interrupt you, but at these places where you have specialty coffee, people actually love their jobs, and that's why they're happy and open to talk about anything, because they do this because they love it. While at other places, people mostly do job because they need job, they need money, and that's very different.
Very different. And I think something, just going away from coffee slightly, another thing, so where I'm involved in football, and at Cappuccino we sponsor the local football team, Didcot Town, and I find similar there. A lot of people are volunteers, and football, I can go to, it's a very community driven club, and that's why I wanted to connect, because living here now with my partner, we bought, so we know we're going to be here, and I wanted to start to put down those pillars in the community, or start to feel a part of the town. And now if I go to the game, and you've got people who maybe I would never see elsewhere, but you go to the ground and the stadium, and everyone's got a common interest. Everyone wants to talk about the team. People ask how you are, and it's really nice just seeing friendly faces and connecting with people. So it's much bigger than the sport on the pitch for me, and I think that's what I think maybe people who don't like sport or don't like football, they see it as just, football. And I know there's problems with fan behavior, and there are problems in football, which I could talk for a whole hour, which you don't want me to bore you about the problems in football, but
I know that very well, coming from Croatia, because here in Zagreb, in capital, I don't know if you know about the team, but there is always, when they have some game, it's always some troubles.
Yeah, and it's such a shame that some people see it as that it's that part of it, when you're part of a big group, people that think they can use it as a place to I don't know. But often I think it's suppressed. It's people where we're talking about, we talk about how we're feeling. And for a lot of people, I think, who are causing trouble at things like that, it's all this suppressed emotion, and they just have to get it out somehow. And unfortunately that comes in shouting at people and not having a healthy way of relieving stress. But yeah, that's a whole other thing. But it's certainly something that I find in football is interesting. And that's why I'm partnering with the football club, hoping to, in that audience, which maybe wouldn't otherwise look at mental health as something they want to talk about, it's on the shirt. So at every game, it's in the program. There's the ideas about talking and mental health are being put into the football club, which is what I'm trying to do.
Yes, but then you go deeper into the psychology of these fans who make troubles at games. And, if you're present to these football teams, as someone who stands for mental health awareness, maybe they can approach these fans as well, who are making these troubles, because, as you said, these people try to find a way to get this out of their system, and they don't know how. And they mostly do that because they have no one to talk about, because they fear rejection if they say how they actually feel and what they think, and they feel ashamed of searching for help, because not to repeat myself, but what we talked about earlier, feeling this fear and shame of what people are going to think about. Unfortunately, that's the society we live in, and that is where you and me and other people like us can try to approach more people and say, that's all right.
Yeah.
No, it's all right to that. And that is how Coffeealoud came to.
Yeah. So Coffeealoud, that's what I wanted to, perfect segue there into it. So it's for people who haven't seen your page or don't know about what Coffeealoud is, are you okay to try and sum up what it is, and I guess more importantly, the why you wanted to start this project.
Of course. There was time in my life a couple of years ago when I thought I won't do coaching anymore. Only because it started being exhausting at some point, and especially with COVID. During the COVID times, let's say, I mean, it's still present in our lives, but now it's like kind of normal. Everyone became this life coach.
Yeah.
Everyone. I think people were so like not knowing what to do during these times in lockdowns and everything that happened, that they thought, okay, I'll be life coach, you know. Yeah, that is fine, but you can't be 20 years old and be life coach. I'm sorry, but that doesn't work. You need some more experience and some more life to be a life coach. You know, even I say with all the experience and I have, it's nearly 14 years in all the different kinds of coaching, I still wouldn't, let's say, market myself as a life coach, because there will still be people who are older than me and have more experience than me and more wisdom than me. And I just don't think it's maybe later at some point in life, you can say, okay, now I'm a life coach. I'm like 50, for example, and now I can tell you. But in your 20s, you can't really be life coach. And that is where I got a bit overwhelmed with all of these people coming up and think, you know, I learned a lot. I studied sport. I studied psychology. I've done a lot of different jobs that has nothing to do with coaching, because obviously, like everyone, I needed money and to live and to survive. But you know, things happen in life, and you think, well, if this person had someone to talk to about these things, this would never happen.
Yeah.
Because something bad happened, and I thought if this person had someone to relate to talk to about, this would not happen. And it is when Coffeealoud came to my mind, because obviously I like coffee, and coffee puts people together.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. I think we've spoken already about how when you were speaking to your aunt, it was through coffee, or when we go into those coffee shops, the specialty coffee shops, and you can connect. Or for me, when I needed connection, it was in coffee shops that I found it. So that common theme, and as you say, you don't have to be drinking coffee, but the idea of catching up with people, and I guess that's really cool. Yeah, that's why it kind of appealed to me when I saw the ideas behind the why. I could see some similarities. Obviously, we're both different people. We've got very different stories and very different life experiences, but there seems to be a kind of common theme of coffee with connection and community as like a triangle.
Definitely, because I came to this name Coffeealoud because it means, for those who don't understand it immediately, it's in terms talk loudly.
Yeah.
So like coffee aloud, talk loudly about things that happened or are happening in your life, and making you feel this way, or making you doing these things that are not very good. Not only very good for environment, but not good for yourself as a person. Because especially if you have family, and especially if you have children, you need to be good. You need to be well for yourself, because if you're not, you cannot be a good parent.
Right.
And this is why we have all these troubles with children today, that parents are giving them phones or these tablets or whatever technologies, like that's a toy since when they're 2 years old. The child is laying on the bed with a phone like this, you know.
Yeah,
that's not healthy. And why parents are doing that? Because they just don't have energy to deal with kids at some points, because kids are a lot of work, but you have your job, then maybe your marriage is not going very well as you wish, because you both have these jobs that you're not very happy about, but you have to do it because you need money, and you have kids, so you have to feed more people. But it's easier to deal with kids just giving them phone. No, it's not.
No, yeah.
Because then you have to remember, why did you have kids at first place?
Yeah.
Because that's something you have to do in life, or because that's something you're expected from your own parents to give them children, or is that something that you really wanted to do?
No, I think that's so true. And you say, with whether that be children or any relationships we have, it's, you can't be the best, you can't be there for other people, or you can't connect with other people if you don't have that energy, if you're not looking after yourself. And again, I know it's people talk about you can't pour from an empty cup. I guess that kind of links in with coffee, doesn't it? So I'll use that wording. But in terms of, for me, with cappuccino, I say a lot about self-care is not selfish, or it's not selfish to look after yourself, because if I'm not looking after myself, I'm not going to be able to provide or be there for other people. And it's kind of flipping the perspective of, you need to be there for yourself first. You need to be able to have that energy to be a part of relationships or connection. So in terms of Coffeealoud, you kind of said about the why and creating a space for that conversation. So and I know we briefly touched on this maybe before we hit record about on your page, I think the idea was that you were going to be kind of traveling Europe, and were you maybe going to be selling coffee or having spaces for coffee for people to come and talk, and it would be for good causes or something. But in terms of the what, I guess we've spoken about the why, but in terms of the what of how that's going to work, and maybe how that's changed, is did you want to share a little bit about that as well?
The idea was originally only to put people together. So I invite you for coffee, for example, or we do coaching session, let's say, but we do it over coffee in a friendly environment.
Yeah.
Again, I say it doesn't have to be coffee. It is just, let's say, more like a market.
Yeah.
Like marketing product, like coffee, and then because when you say coffee, people immediately think talking to someone, not having it on your own. And the idea came like that: make good coffee for people and talk to them and let them talk, give them this space to share their own story. And that's why relational coaching is actually not coaching with like relationships, like romantic relationship. It doesn't have to do anything with that. It's a relationship with your environment, that how you deal with your environment, and that is relational coaching. Yes, so idea was to bring people together who will open to each other and talk to each other and have a good coffee at the same time. Same thing that you are doing right now. And then I have idea because I love traveling.
Yeah.
And I like coffee, and I like talking to people and hearing other stories and other perspectives. I made this project traveling around Europe in a camper van and selling coffee by donation, which I will donate to for the mental health institutes or homeless people. Unfortunately, because of my own health issues at this moment, I had to postpone this traveling, which was planned for this summer and then for like next 6 months.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of coffee with me at home, lots of coffee beans, fresh roasted.
Yeah.
But I won't waste this coffee. There is a project that another specialty coffee on the coast side of Croatia is doing, and they are donating part of their earnings from coffee to building schools in this area,
Yeah.
coast. So I am actually traveling tomorrow there to donate my coffee because I didn't want it to go to waste, and I won't use it. So it still has a good purpose.
Yeah.
And it will still be donated. I'm not earning anything from it. I'm not interested into earning anything from it. My idea was only to bring people together to talk about life and things that make them be as they are and how they can change that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. That's really, really nice, really inspiring to hear. And where you say as well about not wanting to make anything from it money wise, again, and sometimes the most rewarding thing, as you say, is just creating that space, and it's what we give and give out, and just giving other people that space, people who maybe have not been given opportunities to talk before. And yeah, so again, parallels with cappuccino and maybe what I'm trying to do. This is all, I don't make any money from this. I work full time, and it's something I do alongside it because it gives me energy and it makes me feel like it helps me as well, which is another thing. When I'm, say, for example, this podcast or this conversation, like it's so great for myself as well to connect with people, as well as hopefully, as we say, modeling or just showing people that there are spaces to talk in, and it's okay to feel how you feel or live how you live and do things for you. But no, it's been incredible hearing about yourself and your story, and thank you so much. I know you're what time to say you're calling in from Croatia now as well, which is why this is being done over like a call, obviously, rather than it's a bit of a way to travel, maybe just for a conversation. But I know you mentioned your partner's from the UK, so do let me know, like if ever you're around Oxford, it would be amazing to build on this connection, and go get a coffee sometime. That'd be amazing.
Yes, I just wanted to mention when you said that it helps you as well. When we talk back about relational coaching, is also a part of it that not only that me as a coach build friendly and comfortable space for someone to talk about and to work with, it is also for me.
Yeah.
And me, I as a coach put myself at risk sometimes, maybe with sharing my own story or experience with someone I don't really know. Yeah. But it is relational because we need to relate to each other to be able to understand and maybe help in that change. Yeah.
No, amazing. Again, thanks so much, Franchesca. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And I hope it all goes well as well, traveling tomorrow and again, donating that coffee, which will go to an amazing cause.
Thank you for inviting me again, and good luck with your podcast.
Thanks so much. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, and I really hope you gained something from that conversation. I know I certainly did. It would mean a lot if you can like and subscribe on whatever platform you may be watching or listening on, but also if you head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Cappuccino. This is the best place to contact me, but also see the latest developments on the platform as we look to increase awareness of mental health through my passions for coffee and football. In addition, if you've heard something that you can relate to or you want to talk about a little bit more, feel free to message me on that platform. But also, if you fancy coming on yourself and having a conversation, then do let me know, because I'm always keen to connect with new people and get insights into other areas and other passions and other challenges that I might have no experience of myself. Thanks again, and I really hope you tune in for the next episode. Take care of yourselves. I've been Hans. Thank you.